Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Peaceful Creativity Live. Thank you
Oh
so.
yeah.
Yes, an angel choir slash Arno choir. We are very happy to be here with you today. Today, we're going to be answering your questions and talking about how can I feel some harmony in my life? How can I reharmonize my life in these crazy times where so many of us are knocked off our center right now? So many of us feel very imbalanced right now. Got the whole work from home challenge still going on. We got now over a year of this COVID situation. It's time to reset, reharmonize. We're going to help you by answering your questions today and bringing in the three spirits. Roll the intro. And we are back. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Arnie, how you doing today at this episode of Peak Live?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Davey. How are you today?
Thanks. Happy to be here. Let's jump in. We did an episode a little bit previously that we had some major technical issues about reharmonizing your life. But we got some clips from it, and we're gonna dive deeper into the issue today. So, yeah, if viewers have a way to interact with us, do you want to remind them about that?
Yeah, of course, of course. So this is PCRE Live, Peaceful Creativity Live. This is a live coaching show. We're here to answer your question about your challenges, any question you might have regarding how to harmonize your life. And we are live on YouTube right now, so you can write it in the chat, and you can also follow us on Instagram and ask your question there. And we pick the best of the questions that we find there, and we answer them live on this show. And if you want to be sure never to miss an episode, as I said, follow us on Instagram and also on YouTube. So, so today, David, we talk about reharmonizing our life with our three spirits and with the three spirits coaching system. Um, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about this balance or the needs to reharmonize a life?
Oh, okay. Yeah, good question. When we almost all of our almost all of our malaise, dissatisfaction, and challenge with life, so much of it can be explained by the idea of imbalance. And this concept is out there a lot. We have to have more balance, but most people are trying to handle balance from the perspective of like their time, balancing work and home life, or, you know, balancing, work and hobbies or something like this. But that's like a very superficial layer of balance, and working only at that level, I don't know if you or no, but in my coaching with clients, I haven't seen that way of working with balance really helps so much. The kind of balance we're talking about is, or the kind of balance that excites me is a balance that's like integration. So it doesn't feel anymore like you're making a big trade-off between work and home. It doesn't feel anymore like you're making a big trade-off between working and your hobbies or work and play. You're seeing everything as part of a holistic view of your life. And when things are balanced in that way, they fit together, and you realize my life feels right to me. My life is moving in the direction that feels right to me. I'm able to access that experience of joy and peace in my life. And it's not about like trade offs and jumping between things, it's about an integration of these different elements so that they're working together and supporting each other. So
Mm.
it's like balance, like pieces of wood laying against each other, supporting each other, creating like a house, that kind of thing. So that's what comes up when I think about balance and actually useful sense of balance. I mean, how about you? What do you think about disharmony and balance?
No, that's awesome. Let me react to one thing you said, that the the traditional idea of balance is between two things and that it's a trade-off. I agree, that part of it is true, and I don't know if I would call that superficial. It's part of the human experience. Uh, but one thing is sure is that it's certainly not the whole thing. And most of what people forget to focus on is what you just described, this idea of integration. And I can see that with some of my clients. Personally, the word that come to me rather than integration, I mean, once the life is integrated, I see a lot of alignment. So you have one of my clients, her what she does in her work, what she does in her hobby, which is really her creative endeavor, which is way more than a hobby, the way she treats her relationship, it's all integrated and it's all aligned toward this one direction, which in her case is a healing one for her and for the people around her. So when I think about when I think about this balance now, uh, I remember something that another of my clients told me that I really liked. So I checked with him after a while, and I was like, "So how are you?" Because we were on a break, and he told me. I asked him, "So how is it? Do you manage to still make progress with your business and also be balanced?" And he was like, "No, I'm not balanced, and I like it because movement comes from imbalance." And I really like that, because for me this idea of balance and harmony, it's connected with the idea of cycles. We have moments where we go momentarily out of balance, and then we move forward, and then we come back into balance. We find back this harmony, and that's the flow of life. We're not robots. We're not. It's not linear. It's like vibrating or changing in a cyclic way. So that's what comes to my mind when I think about that.
That's like, he's like describing the experience of walking. I've heard walking described that way. It's like actually, if you look at the biomechanics of it, it's, when someone's walking, they're always slightly off balance, but they're leaning forward and they know they're going to put their foot is going to land, and so they're letting themselves be slightly off balance because they know because they're moving their foot. But that's an interesting idea that imbalance creates movement. I agree that like if you try to if you think about balance as making two things equal, yeah, that's probably going to create like a stagnation. Yeah, I think that's how most people approach the balance. And yeah, I don't think that's helpful. No.
Yeah. So let's jump into a first question. This one was asked to me by a client. Of course, confidentiality of the client is super important, but I can still ask the question. And it was actually about all these rituals that we bring into our life to find balance, to find harmony. And the question was how to balance between being disciplined in following through with our habits and keep a certain sense of freedom. Because we know that, for example, like the one very popular first step for people who want more peace of mind is to start meditating. And start meditation has some benefits, and we know that the benefits increase if there's a regular practice. But having a regular practice means also that you need to show up every day to do that. So she was asking me how to find the balance between these things. I want to do something regular for myself, but I don't want it to become a to-dos more, another to-do in my to-do list.
Yeah, I think this is something everybody faces when they try to start something new. And the first thing to determine is like, am I just in that phase of starting a new habit where I'm going to have resistance to it? You know, what is the real resistance? That's the bottom line, is you're having a resistance to doing something. So you got to look into what's the real source of that resistance. Uh, is it that your nervous system is resisting a new habit, which is normal for the brain to do. The brain, resists change at a certain level. It resists being rewired at a certain level. So is that what's going on? Is that and that's if that's the situation, it's just like, oh, I can't really find anything sort of like really emotionally deep going on. I just feel like I don't want to do it. Maybe that's just my brain's resistance to this habit. And can I just do it for like 1 minute? Can I just do it for 2 minutes to check it off that day? Instead of maybe the normal 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes or whatever the person's trying to do. Just because the
Mhm.
frequency is what helps wire the brain. Not like the length of time, not the length of like one meditation session. That's not really what helps. We're doing it every day, even if it's just for a couple minutes. So that would be one first check. But I got to tell you, I mean, my relationship to discipline and the idea of discipline has really changed over the last couple of years. And it's an exploration I have for myself, and some of my clients and I are talking about this as well. So I'll stop there with that initial idea about just resistance to habits, and I'll pass it back to you. How do you answer this question? Because as a model, this is kind of a flow master question. It's like flow master is kind of helping us make those. Well, in a sense, there could be habits in all three of the spirits, but the flow master is really kind of setting the container for those habits, right? The flow master is kind of helping us keep on track with these small steps we want to take in our life and big steps we want to take in our life. So this is that is one of the three spirits, and a great place to start. Just as a sneak preview, the other spirits are the peace finder and the inner art.
Cable, I mean, cable is much more stable, so maybe I want to try that.
Well, I can't
Sure.
I can't do that right now. But
Okay.
anyway, I think we're back, everybody. May have lost you for a second, but I was basically talking about the flow master. This is a flow master question. And or no, this is our three spirits are the flow master, the peace finder, and the inner artist. And this is a flow master question: getting those habits, getting those steps, getting our environment organized, getting our containers for how we want to spend our energy and our time. That's the flow master's work. And if we do that
Yeah.
right, we can create a lot of flow in our life. So Arnaud, you're kind of the flow master expert on a team here. Why don't you? How do you help someone think about this idea between discipline and freedom?
Yeah, thank you. Um, well, interestingly, in that case, so someone else asked us how do the three spirits interact, and what's their relationship in between, and how you can harness the power of two or three spirits to have even better results. And that's a prime example of that. Here, I agree with what you said, that starting by lowering the length of the given habits to diminish the resistance and be more in a peaceful relationship with implementing this new habit. But after doing that for 2 weeks with that particular uh, approach, surrender to the fact that this habit wasn't serving her anymore. We were past the initial resistance of implementing the habit. She had done it, I think, 10 or 15 times. And she was like, I feel it feels more and more like to do, and it's stressing me in the morning. So I was like, okay, you know what? Let's surrender to it and let's drop it for now. The world's not gonna stop spinning, and you're gonna feel relief. And if it's not, if it's not helping you, then drop it for now. You can come back to it later. And she was immediately relieved that we did that, and she could put her energy elsewhere and continue moving peacefully toward her goal, which is what, at the end of the day, we want, at Three Spirits Coaching, to reach success and enjoy the path, or already have reached success to make success feels right. And this is the way we approached this situation. And I don't know, I'm curious about your professional opinion on that approach of just dropping it if it wasn't apparently serving the client.
Well, I think the experience of relief she felt was a positive sign. I mean, we put so much pressure on ourselves in life, and yeah, part of the goal of this system is to get outside of some of that pressure, to drop some of that pressure. So relief is a good sign that maybe she had an emotion. Maybe there was like, yeah, there's a real resistance to that to that habit. It wasn't like her rewiring resistance. It was like, no, this doesn't fit with me. This actually isn't aligned with me. And so she had
Mm,
relief when she let it go. And so I think that was a positive approach. I would say that, 10 or 15 times doing a habit isn't enough for the rewiring. So that's actually usually the point where most people stop, right? I mean, it takes like between 21 and 40, as far as we can tell, days of doing something in a row where we really feel like, where our brains really lock into it as like a wired in habit. So, I mean, it sounds like though in that case, it wasn't just wiring resistance. It was an actual kind of, this habit is not aligned with me, and there was
mm,
relief for her to use that energy elsewhere in pursuit of her goals. So that's a really good measure. Where are you putting the energy? One, and are you putting it in the places that feel peaceful and feel alive and feel energizing? If you have a habit that is that you're like, oh, I don't want to do it, but that actually doing it gives you energy. That's a sign that you're having the just resistance of the brain wiring, and that habit is actually aligned with you. But
mm,
if doing the habit every time is a drain, then it's probably not just your brain resisting the change. It's probably like that habit is not aligned with you.
mm.
And you're doing it just because you read that it was a good thing to do, or you know or you promised to do it, or you made a commitment, you're trying to fulfill a challenge or something, but maybe it's just literally not aligned with you. So yeah, that's how I would look at that situation, I think. And that's, in that case, the relief was a really positive sign.
Mm, mm.
People don't
Yeah,
realize
that's
that. Just really quickly, people don't realize, like we have so much stress, carrying so much stress. Like, what are the places in your life you could just look for a little relief? What would just feel like relief to you in certain situations? That's not like a giving up. Relief is like a sign of like some relaxation, dropping some of the burdens we carry. Like, this is actually what we want, but a lot of us forget to ask the question, what feels like relief to me in this situation? So just a really a nice question you brought up.
well, thanks. Yeah, no, the relief is definitely an important data point that we tend to overlook often. It's like we take it for granted. Yeah, of course, if I don't do that, I feel relief. But that's also saying something in terms of energy, in terms of the pressure that we are putting on ourselves. At the moment, one of my favorite exercise I do with 3 or 4 clients at the same time now is I mean I didn't I'm not sure how to call this exercise. I'm thinking Kill Bill Katana, but maybe the name will change. But it's about, making a list of your projects, the things that you do in your life that take you time, and then take your Beatrix Kido Katana and just cut it. This one, I won't do it. This one, I won't do it. This one, and then from what's remaining to planify it. And this is again a flow master exercise. But this is such a um, relief inducing exercise. It's crazy. Like within 15 minutes of exercise, you see people, their posture is better, they are more relaxed, their breathing is more ample. And yesterday I talked with a client who just started doing that for a week, and she was shocked at the amount of things that she could do within that 1 week. So okay, that's connected with other things, obviously, right? There was the full moon, and there was some other forces, plus obviously COVID, but it was really day and night how she was under a burden of things to do, and even when there is nothing to do, she thinks that she might be doing something. But after cutting the various projects and saying, okay, this one is still important, so I don't want to cut it, but I'm going to do it in 2 months after I've done this. Oh, I don't have to think about that. Oh, and I know that you also, David, you did some adjustments in the way you handle projects and the way you handle your week. So I don't know. I'm opening the mic to you if you want to share about this or just react to this exercise.
Oh yeah, no, I think that's a great exercise. All of us have things on our to-do list that we don't actually need to do. We're just, it's there because we fill up ourselves, like we fill up our time trying constantly to, achieve and get to that spot where we finally feel successful. We finally feel like we did enough. We finally are good enough. We use our to-do list as like, band-aid for our own sense of like, is my life worth it and valuable. And that just causes it's just putting pain on top of pain. It's trying to handle pain by adding more stress. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't work.
Mm.
So, the I love this idea of the katana. Take a katana to your to-do list. I mean, just imagining that for myself right now. There are things on my list. Yeah, I don't need to worry about that. I'm just trying to push something forward. I'm trying to push something, and I don't actually have to do that now. I think it's if you're in a working environment. A lot of my clients are in corporate environments, and if you're in that kind of environment, you know there's a slightly different approach you take, but I think the katana exercise is just as valid. There has to be a line that, like, if you have all your priorities and stuff lined up and actually ordered based on what is your highest impact, what is your highest value for you to do, there has to be a line somewhere where you slice the katana, and everything below that line is just not possible in the amount of energy and time you have on any given day or any given week or any given month. And most people in the corporate world find that exercise actually quite painful. They don't like things to be below the line of possibility for them right now. They think that they're failing, or like there's pressure to move all these things. But if we don't make that choice, if we don't use the katana, we're basically just agreeing to be constantly stressed and out of balance.
Mm. And here, I mean, this is such a good segue to another way how the spirits communicate between each other. Because in the corporate environment, there are things that you difficultly can say no to, just because it's direct order for your boss or because it's part of the department strategy. But there are also a bunch of things, a bunch of tasks that you do because you didn't set the right boundaries with your colleagues, with your boss, with the team, and or you think that doing those things, those tasks, will make you look good, or influence how people think about you. And I mean, this is a difficult sport, and I personally failed at playing this sport or this game when I was in corporate as an employee. So I guess I'm more of now that I failed at that game and I look back and I'm like, oh, so that's how I messed up. I tried to be a people pleaser, and I tried to do this extra bunch of tasks which were nobody asked me to do and which came up annoying. So maybe that would be a way to apply the katana techniques within the corporate environment, just to think about what is really asked out of me. What can I, what's really needed out of me? What should I do? And what are the things that I do just because in my head canon, just in this thing that built in my head, that's this will lead me to the promotion, the raise, more responsibility, getting that job I want, etc., etc. I'm doing just for these reasons.
Yeah. And your experiment with doing those things, it led to you being quite frustrated, right? Because you didn't get the recognition or the promotion that you wanted.
No, I didn't. I was denied a change of position 9 times within a year, and it's made. And I was looking back, I was ashamed of the wrong thing. I was ashamed of having found a way to do my 8 hours of work in 2 hours, while maintaining high level of quality. And I didn't want people to know, completely. And I think if I had presented that, in a good way, and was able to replicate that for my colleagues, then, it would have been different. I don't regret it, but I'm just saying, okay, I was really not taking that from the right angle.
Yeah.
And why I was talking about communication between spirits is because the inner artist is really about expressing yourself and communication and your relationship with others and with the world. And the flow master in that situation would be about, okay, being clear about the to-do list, what's important, and also assess this task is high impact, as you were, high impact for my organization. This task is low impact. And then if you combine those two spirits, am I doing this because I didn't set my boundaries? Am I doing this because I want people to like me? Or am I doing this because it's high impact? And, if we kind of do a,
Because it's a way I want to express myself. That's what you're saying. I
yes,
think
yes.
that's a good, I have one of my clients right now. He's at a high level in a super fast growing tech company. And there's one part of the business that nobody owns in this tech company yet. And it's an important part of the business, and it's kind of like multiple teams are kind of influencing this part of the business, and decisions get made kind of in a team way. And sometimes some person makes a decision, sometimes, but nobody actually owns full responsibility of this part of the business. And he was thinking like, maybe I should, maybe I should raise my hand and own that. That could be a boost for my team. It could be a boost for my CV. It's a very visible thing. So, it would be clearly much more visible responsibility and all these things like this. And when we started digging into the same questions you're asking, what's your real motivation for wanting this? His motivation was just to look better and kind of make his career seem better. To make his career, to make basically have a better story for his resume, and a story for his next job, and a story for his, and he was trying to get that. He was thinking of taking that simply to kind of like get a badge, not because he was actually interested in that particular thing, and not because he found it exciting to work on that particular thing, not because he would be another way for him to express himself really, and express the way he wants to impact the business. It was none of those things. So, at the end of the coaching conversation, he was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna raise my hand for that." He said something really great. He said, I bet like, I mean, part of me feels a little bit of pressure because like this is an opportunity to raise my hand for this, but I actually, if I think about it, there's probably another opportunity that's for something that's just as visible that actually I would be excited about.
Yes.
But just for itself, not because of all these things these badges I want to have on my resume. you know so that was like I thought a really positive approach that he took in the end. He didn't play that game of just doing things just to look good. He really decided to play the game of taking the katana, saying no to something because it wasn't actually aligned with him. Kind of like the same thing we're talking about with the habits in the beginning.
Yeah.
It's, are you doing it just because you think you're supposed to do it, that makes you a good person, that makes you a more healthy person or whatever, or are you doing it because it's actually really aligned with you and it gives you energy and excitement?
How, David, tell us, I mean, while of course respecting the confidentiality, but maybe can you tell us more about how you helped him come to this conclusion during this coaching session?
Yeah, I mean, I just asked him questions about his motivation. I asked him to think about different scenarios as well. So
Mhm.
how is this going to play out? Okay, so like, is it, is it an energy drain or is that an energy pump? Some of the things we talked
Yes.
about, getting him to identify what felt like a drain or not, getting him to identify what is the ideal scenario if you were to take this on, and the ideal scenario he painted was like not really a realistic scenario. And he was like, oh, I don't think that actually is a scenario that makes sense. And so I was like, okay, so let's think about it. What's your ideal scenario and the different option? We just were like he was letting himself imagine, he was letting himself feel his body, what feels exciting, what feels like a drain, what feels like giving energy, what feels like taking energy, and he was evaluating his true motivations. Is,
Mhm.
am I doing this because this is like this particular question is one of the most important questions for any area of life. And it's one of the inner artist questions. Am I doing this because I like this thing for its own sake?
Mhm.
Am I doing this because I just get joy and energy from this thing, regardless of what results it creates? Or am I doing it because, not because I really just like this thing, but because I really just want that result that it might
Yes.
bring later. And most people make that choice based on, oh, I just really want that result it might bring later. And then they're like miserable along the way. And they
Mm.
never, and then they wonder why, where's the joy that I'm looking for? It's
Oh,
because they made a choice to actually sacrifice their joy in for these future results they think they're going to get.
yeah, man. Oh, that's awesome. Let me react to that because
Yeah.
you can also reverse engineer that, for people who are maybe younger and looking at goals in their life, or maybe who are at a crossroad in their life and want to change. There is a hump in their career, and they're like, "Is that really what I want to do?" They, I stumbled upon this idea of pick your goal based on the path that it will bring you on. We
Yes.
always talk about, the goal is the path is the goal, etc. But this is very concrete. It's like if you want to, you know, spend time with a lot of people, be in a work where you talk, where there is a lot of movement and comparison and like comparison and communication rather, then you might not want to become a developer, a programmer, because the work of programmer requires several hours, programming, and being alone in front of a machine. Yes, to talk with other developers, you compare codes. Yes, there is creativity in it, beauty in it. Yes, but it's if what you really want to do is talk, 3 hours, 4 hours every day with people, that's not, you're going to, exactly as you were saying, David, it's going to be for that hypothetical result of I want to be a programmer and make a lot of money and be, in a respect. Uh, I mean, being in a profession that people respect and care for now, you're going to have this horrible path of being alone for yourself. I mean, I say horrible just because it's not in line with what you want. So that's a very, I think, healthy and joyful and peaceful, peace-inducing way to choosing your goal. If I want this, do I like the goal, the path I need to take to get there? And I think most people don't think about it this way. Just as you said, they're like, I want the results. You know, same thing with I want to change my body. Okay, so I want to look like this. So I will have these super hardcore diets and exercise routine. Do you want that? Do you want to be sore every day? Maybe you do. Some people take joy from that, but maybe you don't. Maybe you want to have something more peaceful and less intensive every day. And so I think it's a mistake, frankly, that a lot of people do, and that I certainly done in the past, to focus just on the results and not on the path that will bring you to this result.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I think that's really nice. Of course, there are like different paths that could lead to the
yes,
same result. I mean, there is some flexibility in how, and a lot of times we don't know how. Also, like we want like so we have some huge goal. Like for example, I know that I want to run my own retreat center one day, right? So the how I get there, there might be different ways to how I get there, but the the end goal, the end result, or just this line of inquiry is trying to point at is how I get there better give me joy along the way.
yes,
Otherwise, I'm not going to enjoy my life. And then even if I get that thing that I wanted, I'm going to get there and I'm going to be like, oh, this feels great. For, it'll feel great for like 2 days, just like any great achievement feels. And then already you're on to the next thing. So you really have to enjoy the path. That's where the joy of life comes from, enjoying the path, not the results. Kyle Cease, I'm reading this book right now by Kyle Cease, who's a former comedian and now like a transformational speaker in the U.S. And he's very taking a very spiritual path, and I love his work. And I'm reading this book right now called The Illusion of Money, and he had this great quote in the book, and I don't know if I'll remember it exactly, but he's basically like everybody is sacrificing themselves to get some result, but they don't realize you are the result. You
mm,
already are the result. Your experience, your life, that is the result. You're here on this planet. There was like, the entire universe had to do everything it's been doing for billions of years to create a moment in time where you could exist, all the natural forces and elements and circumstances that went into you being alive right now at this time, you already are an unbelievably miraculous result. There's no other result you need to get. You know,
Yeah.
this is just a myth that we need to chase these results. Instead, since you are the result already of nature's work, why not enjoy what nature is offering? You know, if you are the result already of life's work, so why not enjoy life right now? And then the results will happen. Other results will happen. I mean, you can't work on something you enjoy with intensity and love and not have results. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
impossible. You know, I mean, some result will happen. You'll affect someone's life. You know, you'll change something on the planet, big or small. I mean, that has to happen. So why not just feel alive and go for feeling alive? Because your life already, your aliveness, that's a result.
Oh man. Yeah, that's awesome. And so many things I want to react on when on what you said. Uh, we do have a question though. Christina wrote us
Oh, great. Thanks for questioning.
on YouTube.
Yeah.
Thanks for the question. So, um, guys who are watching, if you want just like Christina to ask your question, be sure to ask it in the chat on YouTube, as simple as that. And if you are watching a rewatch of this episode, be sure to follow us on Instagram and ask your question there as well if you want, and follow us on YouTube so you can ask your question. So Christina asks, hi there. What if I feel generally imbalanced and I don't know what is my prevailing spirit? What spirit should I start working with, or should I work with all of them gradually?
Okay, good. I
You
managed
want?
to add her question to the broadcast so viewers can read it as well. Right now it's covering our
Great.
faces. But yeah, this is a good question. If you feel generally imbalanced, don't know like which spirit you're using well. I guess that's what she means by prevailing spirit. What spirit is she using well? Versus what spirit maybe she needs to start working with or work with them
Mm.
all gradually. This is a great question. So thank you, Christina. And I don't think we're done yet on the discipline versus freedom conversation. So I want to come back to that before we end the broadcast today. But let's take Christina's question now and see maybe we can dovetail into that freedom versus discipline. So yeah, Arnaud, what would be your first take on this? Where is your, if you feel generally imbalanced, did you start with one spirit, work with them all gradually? What are your thoughts?
I like the idea of low-hanging fruit, where because it's related to avoiding resistance. It's like I feel generally imbalanced in my life. So what do I feel like working on first? Do I want to work with my calendar, my to-do list? Do I want to work with expressing myself more? Or do I want to, work with recentering myself? And I mean, I'm talking about if I'm guiding a client through this process, right? So those are the questions that I would invite the client to ask. And then really focus on the smallest action you can take in each of these direction. So that wouldn't be like all of a sudden, okay, what I feel is expression. So all of a sudden I'm going to become a painter and paint 5 hours a day. No. It's like, no, but every day I'm going to, I'm going to doodle for 5 minutes. Just something. Every day I'm going to look for a funny quote and send it to my friend, and put a nice twist on that. Okay, that feels all right. And then, so every day I'm going to meditate 2 minutes. Oh, that feels better. Yeah. So I think my excitement is toward meditation. So that's how I would start. If you're generally in balance and you don't know where to start, well, think about the lowest step you can take in each of the three spirits. So the flow master, the peace finder, or the inner artist, and see what feels better. That's how I would probably tackle this. What do you
Nice.
think, David?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I like that. I like that. Just as a reminder for viewers, the three spirits are the flow master. That is the spirit in charge of creating containers in your environment and in your time so that your energy can flow in a way that makes you feel best way in your life, that creates natural results, that creates a natural way of moving through the world that feels really good to you and gets you going where you want to go. So that's the flow master, and that, yeah, that's, as Arnaud said, calendars, to-do list, your physical environment, your
Priorities.
priorities. Yeah, great habits, and then the second spirit is the peace finder, and the peace finder is kind of like this nurturing, peaceful force, this stillness that's inside. It's the part of us that is at peace with whatever happens. It's the part of us that is like kind of untouched by the tumultuous, stormy world outside and all the ups and downs. It's like our center and this, yeah, this still, quiet part inside. And this is a very healing place that even we can bring our emotions to get healing and actually release emotions we're carrying, and emotional traumas is part of that kind of work is part of the peace finder. A lot of people access the peace finder with meditation, but there are many ways to access the peace finder energy. So that's the second spirit. And then the third spirit is the inner artist. This is like the childlike wonder and creativity and expression that all of us actually have deep inside for life. All of us started out this way as kids, just care having a careless play with life where everything is intriguing and interesting. Everything is this like a magic show. You know, life is incredible and you want to play with it and express with it. Even, you know, you want to draw and dance and sing. And even though you can't do any of those things well enough, according to some arbitrary judge in the adult world, you don't care as a kid, you know, and you just get joy from those things. This playful, creative wonder and expression, that's the inner artist. And so many of us have decided that part of us isn't important and actually let those creative endeavors go somewhere along the way in order to be responsible adults and make money and, you know, to have success in society. And this is one of the reasons so many of us feel dissatisfied, and that no matter what we achieve, we can't seem to find that, like, really feel like our joy and that we're really doing our best work because that inner artist part of us is cut off. So those are the three spirits. And I I love your approach, Arnaud. I would say one alternative as well is look in your life what's creating the biggest energy drains. You know, at first, you know, it's kind of like if your energy is leaking, you got holes in your bucket, you know, and of course you don't have the energy to put into the movement in your life that you want to create. So you got to stop the energy drains. So where are you being really energy drained in your life, and what does that show you about how your life is imbalanced? You know, maybe it's some way you're going about your work and the flow master is there. Maybe you're not taking ever the time to recharge yourself, you know, and that's a peace master. Or maybe, or a peace finder. Or maybe you're actually don't have enough play in your life. You don't have play. And so all the work pile on top of each other is of course becomes a burden and a drain because you don't feel like you have play. So this is where are you being drained, and what does that tell you about your life imbalances? I would start there, and based on that drain, I would find out, okay, can I eliminate or reduce this drain? Can I somehow delegate this, like get this off my plate, somehow outsource this or put this somewhere, let something else take care of this, so don't have to use energy taking care of this part of my life.
Take the katana.
Yeah, or just cut it. Or how can I turn this drain into actually something that is not a drain anymore? Like, can I tweak it to make it not a drain anymore, or to make it kind of a pump? You know, for example, like there are some things in life that you know, paperwork. You know, I get totally drained by admin and paperwork. So the one of the ways I do it is that, like, I make specific containers of time and space to do my admin work so that I don't have to think about it outside of those containers. So that's one way. I don't let it drain me and leak me out of that container. And then when that container comes to do my admin work, I give myself lots of rewards. I try to make it fun. I put on music that I like. I, you know, do it in small spurts, you know, and I do all kinds of things to kind of tweak that energy drain to turn it into something that is more closer to an energy pump.
Uh,
And
uh,
this is,
can I react on the energy drain real quick?
yeah, sure. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So I maybe it's me, projecting or generalizing, but I found that a lot of time energy drains are related with the inner artist, in the sense that those are untold things, and that's I thought about that when you talk about turning
Say more. I don't
energy.
quite understand, actually.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, oftentimes you can turn an energy drain into an energy pump by saying what you mean, by expressing yourself. And
Okay.
we don't do it because we're afraid. And the moment we do it, then everything changes. So an example would be, uh, actually, I'm going to go a little bit behind the curtain, on peaceful creativity through spirits coaching. 2 weeks ago, I was afraid to tell you something regarding our business, David, and I hold it for a while. And there was some value for me to hold it for a while because it took time. It gave me time to actually process my triggers and do some um, peace finder exercise on myself, so that when I communicated with you, it's it's calmly and in a more orderly way. But the moments and but for that week where I was holding things into myself that I wasn't expressing, then the business was an energy drain, because when I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, I have this thing and not so happy about that, all emo and stuff. uh, but but the moments, where I finally felt, okay, now it's the right time. And you and I had a call, and I told you, well, there's this thing I would like maybe to do different, and what do you think about that? And you're like, you reacted positively and openly, and that's why it's great to work with you. But that moment, the energy drain completely turned into an energy pump, and I was like, oh, my business is the best, I love everything, yeah, super saiyan mode and stuff. So and I see several instances of this in my life and in my clients' life as well. Um, Not saying something to someone to avoid conflict, or I mean, in our case, it wasn't a conflict, but sometimes it is a conflict. You don't want to say that thing. The moment when you actually say it, and again, there is value in waiting a little bit before you say it, so that you say it with words that can be heard and that are not hurtful, and that's represent what you really want to say. The moment when you say it, this unsaid, which was an energy drain, turned into an energy pump.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. I wanted to throw that in the
That's
conversation.
super important. That's super important because what you're basically you're showing us is that energy drains come from resistance. When we resist something, including our own selves, including our own emotions and our own expression, when we resist it, bottle it, hold it, fight it, tense up, we are now using our energy to actually create a block.
Yes.
So this this idea of just getting the energy out, expressing, if like, and it can be to another person, and you can express it to them out loud, but you can also express it in other ways, like you can draw it out,
Yes.
you can stomp and shake it out, you can scream it out for yourself, in your own bedroom. You can write it out, you can write a letter, that you never give, you know what I mean? But you have to, I love that you're bringing this, because you have to get this energy out. You
Yes.
have to let this energy move through you and express. Otherwise, yes, the more we hold it, the more draining it becomes. And then it turns into real heaviness, and it turns into like, it can get really dark, if we keep holding on to so many things and never express them. But I just wanted to add that it doesn't always have to involve another person. It can just be you finding a way to actually get it on paper or get it out into sound or movement. And that can really help too. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. Totally. So we have 10 minutes left. I know you want to come back to freedom versus discipline, and I also want to come back to that. Guys, if you're watching this as a rewatch, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, so next time you can be here, ask your question, see the beautiful American teeth of David here, and ask your question. Because that's kind of a meme in France, that you guys have always perfect teeth,
Yeah,
so
because we all
that's why I
spend
say.
$1 million on braces and all that stuff.
And we just eat baguettes, and then our teeth are perfect as well. So anyway, uh, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram. Ask your question there. But even better, come and ask your question here, so that we can react to it and respond to it. And if you are interested into the three spirits, the flow master, the inner artist, and the peace finder, go to threespiritscoaching.com. we've made a guide for you which helps you using those three spirits to enjoy your life more, because that's what, no matter our level of success, this is what we want at the end of the day. We want to be happy in what we do, whether we are on the path, whether we've reached something, whether we feel like it's a challenging time, an uncertain time. There is this opportunity to enjoy whatever phase we're in. And we've made a guide for that. It has 3 easy, guilt-free ways that you can take in order to enjoy your life more. So go to threespiritscoaching.com. The link should be in the description below, and get your guide there. So now we can maybe go back to freedom versus discipline, David.
Yeah, thanks. So there's like this former Navy SEAL and personal development guy, corporate consultant guy in the U.S. now named Jocko Willings, and he has this phrase he became famous for, that discipline is freedom.
Yeah.
And my understanding of this is that when we don't have discipline, we give ourselves basically the options to make shitty choices, and that these choices are not real freedom. These choices are choices that negatively impact us in ways we don't really want. So they actually don't support our freedom. So when we have discipline, we kind of preset into our lives what we consider are the right choices, so that so that our life starts turning into the version of our life that is more free for us. So this is my understanding of his discipline is freedom. And I think that there's a lot of good in that idea, in that, like, if you do think freedom is just being able to choose whatever you want, that actually isn't real freedom, because so many of your choices are going to come from your own traumas and triggers. And so many of your choices are going to lead you to more traumas and triggers. So just being able to pick anything you want, do anything you want, that's actually is kind of like a false freedom. It's kind of like the fake promise of having a lot of money, and when you talk to people who are super, super rich, they don't feel like they can just do anything they want. And they don't want to just do anything. Like, usually, at some point we have to make these katana cuts in our life to actually choose what are the things that are really aligned with me. So while the part I don't agree with is in the discipline world is kind of the forced discipline, because on the other side, discipline can also become chain and a burden. And it can very quickly kind of, especially if you're putting the pressure on yourself, especially if you are forcing yourself, you're doing the same thing to your inner child that was done to you when you were a kid, that forced you to do the successful things, like, do your math homework that you never wanted to do. And now you don't ever need, because you can just in 2 seconds use a calculator or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, some math is obviously very useful, but it's just an extreme example, like calculus, I did calculus in high school. I'm never going to have a job where I use calculus. You know what I mean? It's like, but I had to do all that homework, and if I didn't do that homework, I was a bad kid. If I didn't do that homework, I was not succeeding. And so we grow up with this trauma of school, basically forcing you into a way of being, no matter who you are, forcing you into the same way of being, and most school was designed to make unquestioning factory workers. In the US, this is well known, the origin of the curriculum of school that is still mostly alive today was set up in the Industrial Revolution to create hardworking factory workers. School is like a factory that children go to, and this many people are replaying that, kind of forcing themselves to be something they're not with their own disciplines. So that's just the other watch out. And somewhere we got to find that groove in between where we are doing the things that feel right to us consistently,
Mm.
because those are the things that are going to help our life flourish. But they have to actually feel right to us, as in they are authentic to us and who we really are. There are so many choices now with habits that you could take on, so many things you could try, right? And 99% of those you don't need, because 1% of those is a match to who you really are. And all the rest of it is just noise. Yeah. So just distraction from who you really are. So there's this middle way, you know, kind of like this pendulum rests in this middle groove that just feels good. And yeah, the groove is being adjusted, but it's not too far. It's not forcing the discipline like school, or like how children are forced to not be themselves, but it's also not allowing us to, it's not entertaining all those false choices
Yeah.
that are coming from our own triggers and our avoidances and our escape mechanisms. So we got to find that groove in between, and I just wanted to hit that home to help with this question that came from the client.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That's impeccable is the word that came to my mind for some reason. Maybe because you used that's impeccable. Maybe because you talked about, school and doing things the right way, and like if there's a right and wrong way to do things. But I agree 100%. And it's not having too many options doesn't bring us happiness. Having too many options brings us another problem of what do I choose? And a lot of us, stuck at home are still facing that, and which kind of, okay, I wanna exercise video. Which kind of exercise video do I pick? There are millions of them for free. Which one do I stick on? Which one do I continue doing? And just I wanted to, because one of the things we wanted to talk about today and really to wrap up was the connection between the spirits. That's a case where the inner artist and the flow master can work together. Your inner artist is like, I want to create, I want to make a song, I want to do, rap, but also drum and bass, and I also want to do city pop. And the flow master is like, yes, sure, okay. Where do we start? Which one do we do first? Okay, maybe drum and bass. Okay, so which software are you going to use? Or maybe this. Okay, which tempo are you going to use? Okay, 160. I want to. Okay, all right. Which do you want to be melodic or vocal or which kind of drum and bass? Oh, this, and you are concentrating the energy. So that's when you're like, okay, so do it now. It's like, you're not losing time asking looking at the millions of possibilities that you have, in that case, which plugin, which sounds, which, and exactly what you really want to do. And that's the 1% that David was mentioning, that's aligned with you. So,
Yeah,
so
totally.
that's, yeah.
That brings us to where we started. The idea that the balance is really about integration. These parts of us working together to mutually support each other instead of being like these trade-offs, one or the other. So nice work. Way to bring it back to the way to bring it back in full circle. A mandala of the Peaceful Creativity Live show.
That was totally intentional.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you guys for watching Peaceful Creativity Live. Thank you, Christina, for your question. If you're watching a rewatch, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube so that you can also join and leave us a question live so we can respond to it. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, where you can also ask your questions, and go to 3spiritscoaching.com so you can get your guide on 3 guilt-free ways to enjoy your life more. And until then, thank you very much for watching. I'm Arnaud.
And I am Davey.
I thought you were going to say I'm Batman. But
and I am Batman.
Peace.
Peace for creativity.